Struggling single dad saves girl from bridge. Discover the incredible life-changing truth revealed. Jake had barely gotten through his last shift at the diner when he spotted the girl. It was a normal day in the Midwest, one filled with the usual struggles and the unending grind of single fatherhood. Still grieving the loss of his wife, he put on a brave face for his 6-year-old daughter, Mia. He worked day and night, fueled by coffee and sheer determination. But the weight of financial insecurity pressed hard on his shoulders. As he wiped down tables, he thought about the bills piling up and how little he slept. Then he saw Lily. She was standing at the edge of the bridge, her tiny frame swaying dangerously, the wind whipping her hair around like a wild halo. In that moment, time slowed. A gut instinct drove him forward. Without a single thought, he sprinted toward her, his heart pounding in rhythm with the desperate voice inside him screaming, "No. Hey, wait. Please don't." He yelled. She turned just as he reached out and grasped her arm, pulling her back to safety. Waves of relief washed over him as he cradled her to his chest, feeling her tiny body quiver with fear. The crowd that had gathered gasped, murmurs rising like a storm. He had become a hero in seconds, but all he could think of was Mia, who was still waiting for him at home. Suddenly, Jake was thrust into the spotlight. News crews came, stories spread like wildfire in a town that had almost forgotten what it meant to come together. For the first time in years, he felt seen. As the community celebrated Jake's bravery, the weight of expectations grew heavy. He wanted to be a hero, but what did that really mean? The cheers felt like a bandage over deeper wounds. His phone buzzed with messages of admiration while his father, a veteran with his own ghosts, still didn't understand why Jake chose to raise Mia alone. Their conversations were often filled with tension, clouds of unspoken judgments hanging in the air. Days later, something strange came to light about Lily's family. They weren't just grateful for Jake's heroism, whispers about their struggles and their privilege began to circulate. What was heroic meant less when societal prejudices fell into place. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake walked home, the air was thick with uncertainty. He stood on that road, retracing his steps, and when he got to the bridge, everything felt heavy again. Hero or fool? The question twisted in his mind. The next day, a confrontation with his father loomed near. The old man, whose eyes still haunted by war, buried resentment in silence. Jake could sense the distance widening, same as the divide within the town. Did they truly honor heroism? Or were they merely using it to mask their own failings? Jake took a deep breath, ready to tear down their walls. But in a world that still saw layers of judgment over compassion, he wondered if this would be the moment everything changed or if he would be left standing at the edge of his own abyss. Jake arrived home that evening with a storm brewing inside him. Mia was quiet, her head buried in a storybook, but when he walked in, she looked up, her wide eyes filled with a mix of admiration and confusion. "Daddy! You're on TV!" she shouted, excitement lighting her face. The news blared softly from the small television in the corner, a clip replaying his moment of heroism over and over. He smiled at her, trying to match her enthusiasm, but the weight of the day's events hung heavy on his heart. "Yeah, kiddo, that was just a little something," he replied, rubbing the back of his neck. The accolades felt hollow in stark contrast to the messiness of their lives. As they settled down for dinner, Mia talked animatedly about her day, but Jake struggled to focus. The lace of her childhood innocence swirled with his adult worries, a concoction that left him feeling more drained than ever. What did it mean to be a hero? The title felt more like a burden than a blessing. After dinner, as Mia brushed her teeth, Jake stood in the kitchen, reflecting on his father. He knew the old man meant well, but their conversations had always been like trying to navigate a minefield. Always the soldier, always wary of vulnerability. Taking a deep breath, he decided to call his dad. "Hey, Dad," he started, the words sticking in his throat. I was hoping we could talk." "What about?" His father's voice came through gruff, a mixture of curiosity and caution. "The thing with Lily. I just want you to know, it's not as simple as it seems," Jake rushed. There was a pause on the other end. Jake held his breath, wondering if he had broken through one of the many walls between them. "I saw the news, Jake. You're a good man. You did something noble," his father finally replied. But his tone was distant. "Thanks," but Jake hesitated. "When did we become heroes? All I ever wanted was to be a good dad." "You know, some people don't even have that," his father said. "I always thought you were weak for not doing it alone. And here you are. Proving yourself when it counts." Jake felt a rush of anger and pain. Were the two of them forever destined to misunderstand each other? "This isn't just about me being strong. I'm scared, Dad. I'm scared every day that I'm not enough for Mia. That this hero moment will mean nothing when we get back to reality." "Reality has always been a tough pill to swallow," his dad replied, his voice a little softer. "But it's how you rise when things get tough that defines you." "Is it really?" Jake whispered, hanging up the phone. He felt hollow. Was it simply about rising and falling? The following days passed in a blur. Jake found himself thrust further into the limelight, with more news coverage and offers for interviews. But every time the camera was on him, he felt they were missing the point. He watched as Lily's parents capitalized on the situation with their polished smiles and gratitude. The town buzzed with stories of her miraculous rescue, but the depth of their struggles remained hidden beneath the surface. As he lay in bed that night, sleeplessness gripped him again. He needed to talk to Lily. There was a deeper connection there, forged in that frantic moment on the bridge. He wanted to understand her, and perhaps, in some way, what happened that day was part of something bigger than himself. Curling up, he made a vow he'd reach out to her family. He'd seek a way to help in their time of need, to show that heroism should mean more than just a headline. Yet, deep down, uncertainty grew like a heavy weed within him. Would they welcome him? Would this act undermine his struggles, or strengthen the ties that bound them all? And what of Mia? Would this impact her safety, her view on life? He knew he had to decide soon, for standing on the edge of possibility often led to the risk of falling back into despair. What choice would he make? As the silent night enveloped him, Jake knew the moment of truth was approaching. The next morning, the sunlight spilled through the kitchen window, illuminating the remnants of the previous night's thoughts. Jake sipped his coffee, staring at the steam curling into the air, a moment of fleeting calm amidst the chaos. Mia twirled around him, her pigtails bouncing, lost in her own world of pretend. Her laughter, a remedy for his restless heart, reminded him why he fought so hard. "Can we go to the park today, Daddy?" she asked, eyes sparkling. The innocence in her question made him smile, but the weight of his promise lingered like an uninvited guest. He wanted to say yes, to get lost in her joy, but his mind was already racing with plans to reach out to Lily's family. "Of course." After breakfast, he replied, trying to latch onto the normalcy he craved. Yet, as they walked to the park later, Jake's bravado slipped away. Every smile from a passerby felt like a spotlight, and behind each nod of appreciation was a reminder of the event he wished to scrutinize further. He couldn't shake the nagging doubt. Hero or not, did he really have the strength to dive into the pain he felt lurking just below the surface? At the playground, while Mia climbed and swung, Jake let his mind drift. He watched her play, a carefree spirit in a world that seemed increasingly complicated. She squealed with delight as she slid down the slide, her laughter dancing through him like music. In those moments, he felt the weight lighten, at least a little, but as he grabbed his phone to check for messages, he saw it. Mia's frantic a few moments later told him a message had come through. A text from Lily's mom. "Thank you for saving our daughter. We are grateful. Can we meet?" The words shimmered on the screen, a mixture of hope and dread. He felt his heart pound, a flurry of emotions swirling inside him. Meeting them was the right thing to do. It might even provide some clarity. But what if it opened old wounds or made him feel more inadequate than ever? "Daddy?" Mia pulled him back from the edge of his thoughts, her face shadowed with concern. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, baby," he assured her, forcing a smile. "Just thinking." He decided he needed to see Lily's family. That this meeting could be a chance to share not just his story but to listen to theirs, to acknowledge the real battle that lay ahead for them all. After returning home, he sat on the couch, tapping his fingers nervously on the armrest. With a shaky breath, he hit reply. "Yes, I'd like to meet." Then he added, "Whenever you're ready." And just like that, the door to possibility creaked open, but Jake's heart raced. Would Lily's family see him as a hero, or just a reminder of their trauma? How would Mia react when she learned he was stepping into their lives, perhaps even risking another emotional storm? As the sun dipped low in the sky, filling the home with warm hues, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. Whatever was coming, it would force him to confront everything he stopped himself from feeling, and then Mia appeared at his side, tugging at his shirt. "Are you going to become a superhero now? Like the ones on TV?" He knelt down to meet her gaze. "I don't know yet, sweetheart." Her innocent enthusiasm clashed with his uncertainty. "But what if you can help?" Smiling gently, he brushed a thumb over her cheek. "Maybe I can. But I need to find out how." The simple truth hung heavily in the air. What would help truly look like? In that moment, Jake knew he was standing at the edge of something monumental, the blurred line between heroism and vulnerability. And just as he recognized the gravity of his situation, his phone buzzed again, the response from Lily's mom lighting the screen. "Can we meet tomorrow? We need to talk." The timing couldn't have been more perfect or terrifying. How deep would the conversation go? What were they really asking of him? The next day dawned with a soft glow, a fragile tranquility wrapping itself around Jake as he tried to prepare for the meeting. The playful chaos of his morning routine moved in slow motion, each action heavier with anticipation. Mia hummed a tune from the cartoons she loved, spinning again in her pajamas, blissfully unaware of the tension coiling tightly around her father. He watched her bright smile and couldn't help but feel a bittersweet tug in his chest. How could he hold on to her joy while stepping into someone else's pain today? After breakfast, Jake glanced at the clock. He had less than an hour before he was due to meet Lily's family. His stomach churned nervously with every passing minute, the memory of that day on the bridge haunting him. Should he have done more? Could he have saved Lily from suffering? Each what-if wormed its way into his mind, creating a hefty weight on his shoulders. "Can I come with you, Daddy?" Mia asked, her eyes wide and pleading. Jake felt a rush of anxiety. Could he bear to see Lily's family while also trying to comfort Mia? "I think it's best if you stay with Grandma today," he replied carefully. "It's a grown-up meeting." Mia pouted slightly, but then nodded. "Okay. But promise to tell me everything when you get back." "Promise," he said, forcing a smile as he ruffled her hair, and then he slipped out of the door. Driving to the meeting, he breathed in deeply, grounding himself in the mundane. The streets felt both familiar and foreign. Everything around him buzzed with life, yet a quiet storm brewed inside his heart. What would he say? What could he possibly offer to help heal the wounds he could only imagine? When he arrived at the small cafe, he felt his heartbeat thundering in his chest. He steeled himself and stepped inside. The smell of coffee and freshly baked pastries wrapped around him, but it did little to ease his nerves that he spotted Lily's parents at a corner table. They looked like shadows of their former selves, an echo of the family that once laughed together in the sun. He approached slowly, heart pounding. As their eyes met, a well of emotions rushed between them: gratitude, sorrow, and an undeniable longing for understanding. "Thank you for coming," Lily's mom said, her voice trembling slightly. "I know this can't be easy. I wanted to meet." "I didn't know what else to do," Jake replied, feeling his throat tighten. They sat in silence for a moment, the heaviness of the air making it hard to breathe. He searched their faces, looking for comfort, or perhaps solace, in this cruel exchange. "How is Lily doing?" he finally managed to ask. Lily's dad looked away, his expression hardened by grief. "She's struggling. Some days are better than others. But she misses the way things used to be." Jake felt a twinge in his heart. He knew that feeling well, the grappling with loss and fear. "I can't imagine what you're going through. I just want to help, somehow." Tears flickered in Lily's mother's eyes as she searched Jake's for something deeper, an answer to questions etched into her very being. "You're a part of the reason she's still here, but I need to know, can you truly handle what may come next?" Jake swallowed hard. He had always wanted to be a hero, but this felt different. "I can try. I want to support you both. If anything, I want to learn." As they talked, each word filled the space with raw emotion. Stories of hope and heartache collided in the little cafe, and Jake found himself pouring out his own truths, exposing fears he never dared admit. Yet even as they began to share, the specter of their shared trauma loomed large, and he realized how intertwined their lives had become. What if helping them meant exposing his own vulnerabilities even further? With every passing second, the weight of responsibility pressed more fiercely against him. Could he truly be the support they needed? As they reached a pivotal moment in their conversation, Lily's mom leaned forward. "Jake, we need to discuss something important. Something that could change everything." The gravity of her words hung in the air, and in that moment, Jake understood that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges beyond what he'd ever anticipated. What transformation awaited him as they crossed this threshold together? Jake leaned in, his heart racing. "What is it?" he asked, barely above a whisper, the urgency in his voice clear. Lily's mom hesitated, her eyes clouded with uncertainty. "It's about Lily's recovery, and the possible steps we could take. After everything that happened, we realized that we might need to explore every avenue. That includes therapy." Her voice broke slightly on the last word, but she pressed on. "But there's also something else. Something that could make a significant difference." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Therapy? He knew it was essential, but as a single dad, the thought of finding a way to support Lily, while ensuring that Mia was okay, felt like juggling fireballs. He had only just started to put back the pieces of his own life. "What do you mean by something else?" he pressed, feeling the heaviness of the conversation intensify. Lily's dad, his face a mix of determination and despair, finally interjected. "Lily has been talking about a support group, a place where kids like her can share their stories, their feelings. But she might want someone to join her, someone she trusts. We thought, perhaps you could take part." His gaze fell to the table as if the weight of Lily's future pressed down on him. Jake's mind was swirling. A support group? It sounded like something he had read about in an article, a nice concept maybe, but did he have what it takes to be that kind of support? He felt the flicker of doubt within him again. Underneath the surface, he questioned whether he could handle his daughter's well-being along with helping Lily. "I don't know if I can be what you both need," he mumbled. Mia suddenly crossed his mind. She needed him, her smile lighting up even the darkest hours. But could he help Lily without sacrificing the time and love she so desperately needed? Unable to voice his thoughts, Jake remained silent, biting at the inside of his cheek. Lily's mom must have noticed his struggle. "We know it's a lot, Jake. But your presence would mean the world to her. When you met her on the bridge, it changed everything. Having you involved could really boost her courage." A rush of warmth washed over him at the thought of being a lifeline. Quickly, the memories of Lily's frail form at the edge of the bridge flooded his mind. He had never wanted to be that beacon willingly, but now, faced with an almost desperate plea, a part of him couldn't deny the call to action. "I want to help," Jake finally said, determination slipping through his uncertainty. "I'll do it. I'll join the group." Saying those words felt like a personal vow, as if a part of him had finally accepted he could be part of the solution. A mixture of relief and gratitude flickered across both of Lily's parents' faces. Yet as the tension began to ease, Jake couldn't shake the gnawing fear that he had made a monumental commitment. Was he truly prepared for this? The conversation slowly shifted to the details of the support group, but Jake's mind drifted elsewhere. Could his emotional baggage start to unravel in that circle? Would sharing his struggles open him up for ridicule or criticism? But at the same time, maybe, just maybe, it could offer him a chance at healing, not just for Lily, but for himself as well. As they wrapped up their meeting, Jake felt something bittersweet stirring within him. The end of one chapter was nearing, but the next was only just beginning. Standing outside the cafe, he took in a deep breath of crisp air, the taste of hope tinged with vulnerability. What remained unseen were the winds of fate, and as he looked towards his car, every challenge loomed ahead, promising pain but also the potential for growth. What awaited him at that support group? Would their shared experiences forge an unbreakable bond, or would the exposure leave them all more vulnerable than before? With a sense of purpose burning bright but uncertainties looming large, Jake stepped forward, heart racing, ready to confront the unknown. But what would he discover about himself and Lily in this journey of support and healing? Jake's heart beat steadily in his chest as he drove the familiar route home. The sunlight poured in through the windshield, creating a pool of warmth that felt oddly out of place, given the whirlwind of emotions inside him. He glanced in the rearview mirror at Mia, happily munching on a snack, unaware of the weight lingering in her father's mind. "I'm doing the right thing," he muttered under his breath, trying to convince himself. He caught a glimpse of her shy smile, and something inside him softened. Every day was a balance, a dance between his responsibilities as a father and the fears that threatened to overwhelm him. He couldn't let those fears swallow him whole. Not for Mia. Not for Lily. When they arrived home, Mia darted inside, her laughter echoing through the hallways. She was a burst of light amidst the shadows that clung to Jake's thoughts. Yet, as he closed the door behind them, an undeniable sense of dread began to settle in. "Dad, can you help me with my homework?" Mia called from the dining room, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Sure, Mia. Let me just get settled," he replied, forcing a smile as he opened a can of soda and leaned against the kitchen countertop. The familiar crunch of paper filled the air, and he listened as Mia flipped through her homework folder, her small fingers working quickly to pull out the assignments. Sitting beside her, he found himself staring blankly at her math problems. He loved watching her mind work, but today it nagged him that he couldn't fully engage. The thought of sharing his burdens with Lily's support group loomed over him like a heavy cloud. "Dad, what's wrong?" Mia's voice cut through his haze, concern etching her youthful brow. Jake cleared his throat, shaking off the weight. "It's just adult stuff. I promise it's not about you." He ruffled her hair, trying to mask his own turmoil. But the look she gave him said she saw through his facade, that she sensed the struggle behind his smile. Mia returned her focus to the homework, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling that he was becoming a ghost in his own life. He had always been the rock, the foundation for Mia. But as he prepared for the support group meeting, he felt as if the cracks were beginning to show. That evening, after Mia had gone to bed, he sat on the couch, staring at the wall. The silence echoed, wrapping around him like a cold blanket. What if this support group did more than just help Lily? What if it dug up emotions he'd buried deep within himself? Grief, fear, anger. Would he break? He picked up his phone, scrolling through contacts, hesitating over a number he hadn't dialed in a long time. One of his old friends. They had lost touch years ago, consumed by the chaos of life. What would he even say? Could he admit that he felt unprepared for all of this? Just when he thought of putting the phone down, it buzzed in his hand. A message from Lily's dad reminding him of the first meeting. It would be tomorrow. The feeling of anticipation mixed with anxiety tied his stomach in knots. With a heavy sigh, Jake forced himself to push aside doubt. He'd made a commitment, and part of that was to be brave not just for Lily, but for Mia, too. He wouldn't let fear rule him. The following morning, he decided to make breakfast, filled with intention. Maybe starting the day right could help clear his mind. As he cracked eggs into the skillet, the sizzle comforted him. Each pop and crack announced a new beginning, a promise of warmth to come. "I'll be there for her," he whispered to himself. By the time he took Mia to school, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would do his best, and maybe even discover the strength buried inside him. When he stepped into the support group later that evening, he was met with faces of varying ages. Each one carried its own weight of stories. This was a place of acceptance that much was clear. As he took his seat, Jake suddenly realized that they all shared a common bond. Just being there was a step toward healing, not only for Lily but for himself. What he didn't expect was how their first round of sharing would unravel hidden connections, unveiling truths he never knew he needed. The moment it was his turn to speak, would he wrestle with old wounds or find unexpected courage? Jake's heart raced. Was he ready for this moment? What would he reveal and how would it change him forever? Jake sat in a circle with the group, his palms sweaty against his knees. The room felt both claustrophobic and safe. Each face reflected a story of struggle, just like his own. He listened intently as others shared their experiences, and with every word, the threads of their lives intertwined, pulling him into their shared pain, their hopes, their healing. A woman across from him spoke about her daughter, arguing with the universe, refusing to accept a diagnosis that felt like a sentence. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she recounted sleepless nights, moments of anger, and fragments of joy that fluttered like butterflies caught in an unyielding storm. Jake could feel her pain, it was palpable. He wanted to reach out, to tell her that they were all in this together, but he remained silent, a part of him still too fearful to truly connect. Then, it was his turn. The space felt charged with anticipation, as if everyone could sense the thunderclouds of his emotions just waiting to burst. He took a deep breath, his throat tight. I'm here because my wife is sick. She was the glue that held our family together. And now I'm learning how to be both a mom and a dad to my little girl." He paused, swallowing hard. Their eyes were on him, no judgment, just understanding. "I never thought I could feel so lost. Some days, I can't even make breakfast for Mia without thinking about what once was. What I've lost." As he spoke, the words fell out like shards of glass, each one a piece of his heart laid bare. The unease of vulnerability felt both terrifying and liberating. Jake continued, sharing stories of everyday victories, like helping Mia with her homework, getting her to school on time, and making her laugh even when it felt like joy was slipping through his fingers. With each confession, he could sense a small light pushing through the shadows that had clung to him. By the time he finished sharing, he was surprised to find tears in his own eyes. But there was also an odd sense of relief. The weight on his chest had lightened just slightly, and it felt good to connect. To know that he was not alone. After the meeting, there was a quiet buzz of chatter among the members as they began to mingle. A man with gentle eyes approached him. "You did well tonight. It's hard to open up like that, but it's the first step," he said, clapping Jake on the shoulder. "Thanks. I didn't think I could do that," Jake replied, a smile breaking through his anxiety. "You'd be surprised what you're capable of when you allow yourself to be vulnerable," the man said with a knowing smile before walking away. Jake lingered a moment, still processing. He had shared pieces of his heart, and while the journey ahead would be long and winding, there was a flicker of hope now glowing within him. Perhaps he could learn to navigate this new life. As he drove home that night, he reflected on the connections he'd made. It felt like the first step toward weaving a stronger bond with Mia. Maybe tomorrow, he would take her to the park. A picnic, perhaps? They could laugh, they could play, and for those moments, they could be free. Pulling into the driveway, he glanced at the house, where all the memories danced in the shadows. A sudden thought struck him: what if this journey he was on brought unexpected revelations, not just about himself, but about Mia? What if she had been harboring feelings that he'd overlooked? Jake turned off the engine, the quiet night wrapping around him. He knew he had to ask her how she felt, to open that dialogue. What would she say? What did she see in this world that seemed to spin a little too fast? As he stepped inside and closed the door behind him, he felt that familiar ache in his chest, but something bigger was brewing. Tomorrow, he would speak to Mia. And maybe, in between those words, they would uncover truths that would bind them even closer together. Would their conversations lead to healing, or would they uncover fears buried deeper than either of them knew? What lay ahead felt uncertain, but that didn't frighten him quite as much anymore. It was time to turn the page and find out. The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting soft rays that danced across Mia's room. Jake stood outside her door, heart racing as he gathered the courage to knock. He could almost hear the distant laughter from the kids in their neighborhood, a reminder of the simplicity and joy that he once took for granted. Today, everything felt different. Today, he would talk to Mia. He rapped lightly on the door. "Mia? Honey, it's time to wake up." The sound of rustling sheets filled the quiet air, and within moments, the door creaked open to reveal his daughter's sleepy face. Her hair, a mess of wild curls, framed her round cheeks. "Dad, do we have to?" she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Jake knelt down to her level, his heart swelling as he took in the warmth of her gaze. "How about we have a picnic at the park today? Just you and me." She blinked slowly, processing the idea. "Can we get ice cream after?" "Of course. Ice cream is a must," Jake laughed, grateful for an immediate spark of excitement. As Mia shuffled down the hall, he felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. What if she didn't want to talk about her feelings? What if this was just a regular day, filled with laughter, without the deeper conversations he desperately needed? They prepared sandwiches together, and Jake made sure to keep it light. He cracked jokes while Mia layered peanut butter and jelly, her giggles a balm to his nervous soul. "You're never gonna win Top Chef with that sticky mess, you know," he teased, gesturing at the blob of jelly dribbling over the counter. "Hey! It's a special recipe," she protested with a mock-serious face, and for a moment, he forgot about everything and just embraced her playfulness. Once they were on their way to the park, a cool breeze tousled their hair. The sun shone brightly, casting long shadows on the path. They arrived and spread out the red checkered blanket under the shade of an old oak tree. Kids were playing nearby, their laughter a symphony of carefree joy. Jake took a deep breath, the moment feeling heavy yet hopeful. He turned to Mia, who was busy munching on a sandwich. "Mia, can I ask you something kind of serious?" She paused, eyes darting to his, curiosity and concern mingling in the depths of her gaze. "Is it about Mom?" Jake was taken aback by her candidness but nodded. "Yes. I just want to know how you're feeling about everything, about her being sick. I know it's hard, and I want to listen." Mia looked down at her sandwich, the smile fading slightly. I don't know, Dad. I just miss her sometimes. It feels really lonely." His heart squeezed in his chest at her admission. Loneliness was a worthy opponent, and watching his daughter navigate it felt like carrying the weight of the world. "I miss her too, Mia. But I want you to know that it's okay to feel however you feel. You can talk to me about anything." She scrunched her face in thought, her little fingers tugging at the edges of the blanket. "But what if I say the wrong thing?" Jake took a moment, letting her fears hang in the air. "There's no wrong thing. It's just you and me, trying to understand this together." Mia's eyes danced with doubt, but Jake could see a flicker of something else, a glimmer of bravery waiting to break free. As they continued to talk, the weight of unspoken words began to lessen. Secrets hung there, almost tangible, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Jake hoped they could build a bridge strong enough to span the gaps of their heartbreak, but would they find the courage to cross it together? Just then, a commotion behind them caught his attention. A child dashed by, nearly colliding with a man standing abruptly at the edge of the playground. Jake's instinct kicked in the moment he saw the boy teetering dangerously close to a bridge. His heart raced as he followed the child's line of sight. As if in slow motion, the boy stumbled towards the railings, and Jake instinctively sprang into action. Would this chance encounter lead to healing for them both, or would it plunge them deeper into uncertainty? Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he lunged forward. Time seemed to stretch as he closed the distance. The world around him faded, the laughter of children, the rustling leaves, all that mattered was the impending danger. He reached the boy just in time, wrapping his arms around the small waist, pulling him back with relief surging through him. "Hey! You okay?" Jake asked, bending down to meet the boy's wide eyes. The child nodded, clearly frightened but unharmed. The man who had been standing by the playground rushed over, a mixture of panic and gratitude written all over his face. "Thank you. I don't know what I would have done if." His voice trailed off, catching a breath. Jake stood up, brushing the boy's hair back from his forehead. "Just keep an eye on him, okay?" He felt a swell of pride but also an ache deep in his chest. This was the kind of protection he wished he could have provided for Mia's mother. When he turned back to Mia, he found her gazing wide-eyed at him, a mixture of admiration and confusion on her face. "That was super brave, Dad," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake made his way back to their blanket, pulse still racing not just from adrenaline but from the realization of how fragile life could be. "Maybe. But what's really brave is facing our feelings, you know." Mia looked down again, fingers fidgeting with the corner of the blanket. "But what if I say something I can't take back?" The innocence in her eyes pierced through him. "You won't. I promise, every feeling is important. And just like I jumped in there to protect that kid, I want you to know I'll always be here to protect you in every way." She met his gaze, and something shifted. Perhaps it was a flicker of understanding, a bridge starting to form. "Okay," she whispered, "I want to try." Jake's heart soared at her courage. The moment felt fragile yet powerful, a step forward in the right direction. They shared a small smile, an acknowledgement of the challenges ahead, a silent agreement to face them together. But then, as they resumed their picnic, an unexpected buzzing in Jake's pocket pulled him back into reality. He pulled out his phone, glancing at the screen. It was an unknown number. He hesitated, his heart pounding for a different reason this time. "Hold on, Mia," he said as he stepped away. He answered, curiosity mingled with apprehension. "Hello?" A voice on the other end, familiar yet unsettling, began to speak, words tumbling out that sent shockwaves through his body. "Mia's mother, she's been trying to reach you. There's something you need to know." Jake's heart raced again, but this time it felt heavier, fraught with uncertainty. Would this news bring them closer together, or could it unravel the fragile bond they were beginning to build? He turned back to Mia, battling the storm inside him as he struggled to find the right words. What lay ahead? Would the answers set them free or trap them deeper in their tangled grief? The weight of his decision bore down on him as he looked at Mia, waiting on the brink of revelation. The sun dipped low as Jake stood at the edge of the park, heart racing with the weight of a phone call that could change everything. Mia was near the swings, blissfully engaged in laughter with a group of kids her age. The sound cut through his thoughts, her innocence a reminder of all he fought for. He breathed deep, grounding himself. Whatever news awaited him, he would face it head-on. Turning away from the swings, he dialed the number back. Each ring echoed an eternity. When a familiar voice answered, one he had once hoped to hear under different circumstances, his pulse quickened. "Jake?" "It's Grace," she said, her tone measured but visibly heavy. "We need to talk about Mia." His stomach twisted. "Is she okay?" "She's fine," Grace replied, but the hesitation in her voice sent alarm bells ringing. "But I wanted to tell you some things about her and about me." Jake nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "I'm listening. In my recovery, I've realized the impact my absence has had on both of you. Mia, she's been holding on to so much. Guilt. Anger. Fear." As Grace spoke, Jake felt the tightening in his chest soften. All the unspoken weight between him and Mia suddenly felt lighter, a hint of relief peeking through the thicket of worry. "I want to be involved again. I want to support her in whatever way I can." Jake swallowed hard, images of their fragmented family dancing before his eyes. "Can you be here for her? It's not easy to navigate everything. Now more than ever. I know I've made mistakes, but I'm ready to make things right. I don't want to keep being the ghost in her life." Hope surged inside him, battling the old feelings of resentment and hurt. "Mia would love to hear from you. Can you set up a time for us to talk?" Grace asked, genuine conviction threading through her words. "Of course," Jake replied, a smile creeping onto his face unexpectedly. "She's ready." After hanging up, a sense of empowerment washed over him. Life was unpredictable, painful, yet also brimming with possibility. He rejoined Mia under the expansive shade of the old oak tree. She was still swinging, smiles illuminating her cheeks, a whirl of joy in motion. He knelt as she hopped off, breathless from exhilaration. "Hey, kiddo. I have some good news." Mia's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What?" "Your mom wants to talk to you. She's ready to be part of your life again." Mia froze, surprise painted vividly across her face. "Really?" "Yeah. Really. Let us set up a time for her to come by. When you're both ready." "Okay, but what if it's awkward?" Jake smiled gently. "You know what we talked about? Being brave? It might feel awkward, but it's part of being honest. You're stronger than you realize." Mia gripped the swing tightly, fear creeping into her expression. "What if I say something wrong?" "There's no wrong answer with feelings. They're all valid. Just share how you feel." As the sun dipped low, casting a golden glow, Mia's small hands began fiddling nervously with the edges of her shirt. "I'll try, Dad." "Exactly." Jake exclaimed, feeling an overwhelming rush of pride. That evening, they gathered around the kitchen table, surrounded by the familiar smells of home. It felt grounding. "So, what do you want to say to Mom?" Jake encouraged, his heart swelling with admiration for the girl he raised. Mia looked thoughtful and a little scared, but her determination shone through. "I just want to talk to her about everything, about how I felt when she left." Jake nodded, his own emotions swirling as he prepared for the bridge they would cross together. Throughout the week that followed, Jake supported Mia as she prepared for the talk. They practiced together, building her confidence, culminating in a sweet moment of laughter when Mia dubbed herself Braveheart. The day finally arrived, and Jake felt both nervous and relieved. As Grace arrived at their doorstep, Mia stood beside him, her small frame rigid with courage. It was a moment he had longed for, his two girls facing the uncertainties together. They shared the afternoon in nervous conversation, old wounds exposed but healing welcomed. The air was brimming with hope, an unbreakable bond taking its first breath. Watching from the periphery, Jake felt a joy blossom within him. He wasn't just their protector, he was their bridge between pain and healing. As Mia and Grace talked, Jake reflected on his journey, a transformation forged through love's relentless fight. Life's challenges had transformed him into a steadfast figure, someone who lifted others, digging into his own vulnerabilities alongside his daughter. They sat together in the surge of newfound understanding, reminding Jake that the beauty of healing resides in connection, in openness, and in the family woven together however complex. With a radiant heart, Jake felt the urge of gratitude swell toward the future. It would not be easy, but together they could brave any storm. As the sun slowly dipped below the horizon, a feeling of warmth enveloped him like a long embrace from someone beloved. It confirmed what he knew deep down: love, though sometimes tangled, always finds its way home. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss exclusive stories like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let me know your reactions down in the comments. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can spread hope and healing. Let us do this.